Kathy is an expert at right sizing, and it's a transition specialist. She's a transition specialist who helps older adults downsize and find the best and most cost-effective ways to move forward. A widow who's been in the house too long. What do her kids do? What do her friends do? A real challenge. You are not.
Okay. Thanks for having me. Okay, so the name of my company is Avenue 62. My background started, I had a science degree. I worked in biotech for 10 years. I worked in nonprofits for 10 years. And the last nonprofit I worked at was Institute on Aging, and that's when I became really interested in sort of what people are going through right now, what baby boomers are going through, what older adults are going through. And I learned about what they call senior move management. So senior move manager is basically can be anything from a project manager, where I sort of bring in outside movers and help you make decisions, to actually hands-on, actually cleaning that thing out, cleaning out the house and all your stuff for you. So that's who we are. We're senior move managers. I have a team of 2 very strong guys and a few women who are very good at sorting. We've been doing this for 5 years now, and we can go in there and help you make quick decisions about everything, the value of your things, things that you'll need when we help you where you're going. We'll get a floor plan together, and we'll help you decide what to take with you. Usually the best option is to get whoever the homeowner is out first, and then get rid of the rest of the stuff later. So we're preferred providers for some of the retirement communities around here, so we're very familiar with the buildings and how the move-in process works, how the rooms are set up, and we can help you make quick decisions about what to take, and then what to do with the rest of it, which is getting harder and harder, I was mentioning earlier, because a lot of the places that took donations are closing down, unfortunately. So that's what we do. So where did all this stuff come from? Most of the time, for most of you who've been in your house for multiple decades, you lived in your home during what we call the accumulative years. These are the years where you grew your children, they joined sports, you might have done sports, you had your work, you needed special things for your vacation, you basically accumulated things for everything that you did. Your children accumulated everything for you did. Your parents might have passed on, and then they gave you things, so that's more accumulation of things. And then maybe your children moved out and they left things behind. So your house is still the place where all that accumulated stuff is, but maybe people aren't using it anymore. The result is you have multiple layers of accumulated things, some belong to you, some to other family members, and this is what you end up going into your garage and going, where did those photos go? Where's all my stuff, and how did I end up with all these boxes? Downsizing is paring down your things to the essentials and entering what I call the replacement phase, which is I'm no longer shopping to get new stuff for all my stuff, but my shoes wear out, I'm getting new shoes. My jeans wear out, I'm getting new shoes. So downsizing is really just my essentials, and when something wears out, I'm going to get that. When preparing to downsize, these are sort of, I'm going to give you my version of tips to think about. When preparing to downsize, learn to run your household like a business, with the key equation being assets equals liabilities plus equity. For your family business to succeed, it must have positive cash flow, which means you need assets to rise and not go down, and liabilities to stay flat or go down. And that's sort of like a general, economics kind of equation, but I'm going to equate that to all your clutter and how it impacts you. So the most important thing is to preserve your assets. And there are 3 touchstones when it comes to talking about self-improvement and happiness. There's your financial health, your personal health, and your emotional health. To preserve your health assets, your possessions that are well-maintained and used often, those are the things that you should keep. So using your car as an example, if your car sat in your driveway for 20 years and you never touched it, it probably wouldn't be worth very much if you tried to start it up and the oil had dried up and everything was bad. But if you maintain it, you drive it often, you maintain the engine, you do all the necessary repairs, at some point it still may have value, you can sell it. It is no different for your couch, it is no different for your clothing, it is no different for your golf clubs, it's no different. Everything needs to be maintained, kept in a place where it's not going to get wet, not going to get dirty, not going to basically disintegrate. Personal health that is also well maintained. I know it seems obvious to go to the gym, take care of yourself, but it's amazing how clutter can interfere with that when you can't find your golf clubs, you can't find your gym shoes, and now you've missed your 9 a.m. class, and oh, I'm just not going to go anyway. So clutter can interfere in more aspects of your life than you're aware of. And then relationships between you and your loved ones. That's also that's an asset that needs to be maintained. It's the most common thing when I get called by a couple is that the husband and wife don't agree. One wants to keep everything, one wants to get rid of everything, and it just becomes this place of, we just can't start because we can't agree. And moreover, when you get older, it's really important, and you're alone, not to be isolated. And it's also amazing how many people will not have people over to their house to entertain because they don't want them to see the mess. So having too much stuff actually impacts your relationships with your loved ones and your friends more than you think, because it ends up isolating you in this house full of your stuff and not bringing people over because you're embarrassed, not hosting the family dinners because you don't have any room. And also, again, when it comes to people living in the house, if they don't agree on what to keep, that impacts the relationships as well. So when sorting your things, there are 2 key things to keep in mind. First, the layer of decision making. Is it an asset? And an asset, these are how I define it. An asset is if we use it often and me or everybody around me enjoys it. That's an asset. Or is it a liability? It costs me more than it's worth or that I can afford. I do not have the means to store it or take care of it, and no one in the family other than me wants it. So as an example, when I was doing one of these talks, there was a woman there who said she wanted to pass on some very expensive jewelry to her niece. Now that could be an asset if the niece is going to wear it and she's going to enjoy it. It's a liability if it's worth a lot of money. She was young, she was in her 20s. She can't afford to insure it. She's going to constantly worry about where to keep it. It was more worthwhile for her actually to sell the jewelry and give her niece the money than to give her the jewelry. So it's an asset if everybody really is using it regularly and really can manage it, but it's a liability. You know, I use the dining room table also as an example, because food is love, right? So you had your dining room, at your dining room table, you had all your family dinners, your Thanksgiving dinner, your holiday dinners. So everybody wants to pass on the dining room set. They want to pass on the china. They want to pass on the wine glasses. Well, I can tell you right now, everybody now lives in 800 square feet. They eat in front of the TV. While they're doing on their computer, they're looking at your dining room set for 12, and they're saying, no. So some things that were an asset to you are not an asset to your children, to your grandchildren, to your nieces and nephews. The second level of decision making is it being kept because of my personal memories or my shared memories. So in this case, was it from my childhood, was it from my hobbies, was it from my work, or is it something from family vacations, from something we did as a family? Again, assuming you have children and you want to pass something on to them. If they did it with you, if they were on the vacation with you, if they shared the dinner with you, if whatever it was they shared with you, they will probably say, I'll keep it, and they'll probably treasure it. If it's something that you just have in the back of your closet that they've never seen, they've never used, they've never seen you use it, but it meant something to you when you were 7, very unlikely. Very unlikely it will end up anywhere but the trash. So another example is I was doing one of these talks and there was a man there of Indian descent, and he was basically in tears, and he said, I have these letters from my parents, and my kids are now spread out all over. They're all professionals. They're spread all over the United States, and I know they won't keep them. So my advice to him was make it a shared memory. So when they come back for their holidays, sit with them, read the letters to them, explain to them why it's important, and really go through the storytelling of the family. They are more likely to keep it. So don't assume just because it's sitting there and they've never seen it, it will never be a shared memory. If it's that important to you, make it a shared memory. Share the stories with them, bring it out, show it to them. If you have a hobby that they don't share, well, share the hobby with them. And then they'll be more likely to keep the stuff. That gets to also some point, so I just want to make a point on some of the stuff to keep before we get to the next point. On some of the stuff to keep, also keep in mind that, as using china as an example, if you have a set of 12 china, you don't have to pass all the china to them. It's really in style now to mix and match china. So one of the things I recommend to people is if you have multiple kids to pass it on to, some can just get the bowls, some can just get the salad plates, some can just get the dinner plates. So it's less for them to hang on to, so they each keep a piece of the pattern, but they don't have to keep all the set of 12. And I would say that also for any of your collections or your hobbies. If you have boxes and boxes of things that were part of this hobby, whether it's art or knitting or whatever it is, just select out a few key pieces that you think the kids will really enjoy, and also talk with them about it, saying, I think that you'd really enjoy this, and small. And one of the things I advise people on when they're sorting is, usually it goes like this. I'm sorting for someone, and the first thing I say is, who are the stakeholders, are they interested in everything? And usually the first thing they say to me is, they don't want anything. So I'm going to decode that for you. The I don't want anything basically means, I don't want to go through your stuff. I don't want to go through your, did I go backwards? Let me see. So I don't want to go through your underwear drawer. I don't want to go through your garage. I don't want to go through your attic. I don't want to go through your storage unit. Don't bother me with it. But it doesn't really mean they don't want anything. So one of the things I recommend to people as we're sorting is have a medium, small, medium-sized box there with everybody's name on it, who you think, whoever your family members are. And then as we go, we'll just select out some small things that are good memories for them, because they will want to keep that. It's not that they don't want anything. They don't want to bother going through all your stuff. They're busy, they live far away, they've got their own kids, they've got jobs, they got all these things. They just don't want to bother, but they don't really need. They don't want anything. So just curate as you go. Curate, and also have discussions with them again, because if it's shared, if they understand why it's meaningful, they're more likely to keep it than just something you pulled out and said, here, take it. It was my grandmother's, I can't get rid of it, so you can't get rid of it. They're gonna get rid of it. It's like, great, I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna get rid of it. So, I don't know how much, I'm kind of going fast because I'm worried, because I only have two. We're okay? Does anybody have any questions so far? Like a personal example you want me to help with or anything?
Well, what if let's say the parents are gone, or let's say you have all this stuff, then how do you know is it just personal feelings on what you want to keep and what you want to let go of, or?
Well, this is, again, going back to the assets and the shared memories. So you're going to have your personal opinion. I don't know who else is in your family, but they're going to have their own personal opinion. So the best thing is actually to talk to them, but usually, like I said, their first thing is, I don't want anything. So it's hard to know, but again, so when you're going through it, just think about what means something to you. And if it just only means something to you, then you're keeping it for you. But I would say that if you're going to pass it on to someone else, they're very unlikely to share your emotion on it, unless they shared in the experience with it, or unless you shared in the stories and you actually shared what it was. If it's just random stuff like, a serving bowl, or again, an old jacket, unless they like it, unless it's an asset for them, like something I've always wanted a jacket like that, or I've always wanted something like that, they're not going to keep it just because it came from the family.
Do sets of dishes and silverware have any value?
No.
Even stainless steel? Sterling silver.
Yeah, no. So I inherited sterling silver from my family. I use it every day. I don't have any flatware. I use my sterling silver every day.
Good point.
Yeah, use it. Just use it. It doesn't have any value. Resale value.
I have another girlfriend that does the same thing. She uses her sterling. She even puts it in the dishwasher.
I put mine in the dishwasher. I have my really good set, my really good heavy set, and that is for special dinners. But I inherited so much of it, a lot of it's silver plate, I just use it every day and I put it in the dishwasher. The polish is up nice when I feel like it, but yeah, I just use it every day.
So if you're in a mode where you're, say, several years out from that real downsize move, where you decide that you're going into a retirement situation, you want to get something that is just a cozy, comfortable living space, you're probably going to move either out of state or far away from where you're currently at. What are your best practices over those years as you start to, how frequently should you go through and kind of cull the things out that you need to cull out?
Yeah, so one of the things I really recommend to people, when people move often, when they've retired and gotten older, and when they move, when they become widowed, usually they're moving because it's an emergency. I have to move quickly. There was a fall, there was a medical emergency, there was some kind of health emergency. They have to move quickly, and then everything has to be emptied quickly, and that's when really bad decisions are done. So it's not necessarily how often you do it, but there's some rules of thumb to keep in mind. First of all, if you have something of real value, something that really, like artwork, or something that really does have value, the more time you have to sell it, the more money you get. Anything you have to sell quickly, at an estate sale, at a yard sale, even online, if you have to sell it quickly, to get it out quickly, you're gonna just accept the bottom price. So anything of value, I would take the time to sell that. In general, what I tell people, we call it right sizing or aging in place. So let's say like in 20 years you want to move, but right now no one's living at home. It's just the two of you. No one's living at home. You just need 1 or 2 guest rooms. You just want to live in a reduced space. If you're staying here in California, usually you're going to end up in something that has a kitchen or a kitchenette, a small living room, 1 or 2 bedrooms, 1 or 2 bathrooms. So I really, and then if you have storage, it's maybe 250 square feet of storage. So the ideal is, at some point during the 20 years, you're going to pare down to 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, just enough stuff in your kitchen that suits you. And then just like 4 or 5 closets worth of stuff. So it's not really how often you do it, but some other rules of thumb is whenever we sort, oh sorry, that was my time. I was working.
No, you're good.
I'm okay. Some rules of thumb to keep in mind when it comes to sorting, some things that are guaranteed to fail. If you go in on a Saturday morning and say, this is it, we're doing the whole garage, I decided, no matter what, stop everything, we're going to do, okay, you're going to fail. Make sure you just do small projects at a time. Make sure you just take the first 5 boxes out. I sort with people of all ages. I sort with people in their 30s, I sort with people in their 80s. No one can do it more than 3 hours. It is emotionally exhausting, it is physically exhausting. So I really recommend you just take a morning on a Saturday, 9 to 12, you just take whatever you can do, you set a small goal. We're going to do these 5 boxes in the front of the garage. That's it. We're not going to do anything else. Then you just go to lunch. And then the next Saturday, you just kind of do the same thing and you just go through it slowly. So it's not really like how often to go through it, but you should set a goal as an example. By June, our garage will be done. And then you just say, okay, how many 3-hour sessions is that? Yes.
I didn't mean to stop.
Oh, no, that's okay.
I was just wondering, do you have organizations or nonprofits that you work with to donate this stuff to?
Yeah, so I was just saying a lot of the places like Habitat for Humanity in San Carlos, a lot of the nonprofits where you could sort of recycle these things are closing. They lost their lease, they're being kicked out, a lot of them are closing. So right now, I'm working with a couple in East Palo Alto that gives directly to formerly homeless in East Palo Alto, and there's a man in San Mateo who gives directly to formerly homeless vets that I'll be talking to this week. We just have to give it directly to the people. There is no more, at least in the peninsula. There's plenty of places in the East Bay, and there are times when I just have enough volume. Like there's one place in the East Bay that takes all your old medical equipment, your walkers and everything, and at this point I've done like 3 houses, and I have a brand new motorized scooter, and so sometimes I just load up the car and just make the one trip over there. Excuse me. And so that's what there's plenty of places in these, there's a Habitat still there. So if there's enough volume, I just haul it all over there. But on the peninsula, we're really losing a lot of the places where you can take things now. So again, it gets back to the more time you have, the more we can place it in the best place.
You're talking about large things.
Large things, furniture, yeah.
Furniture.
Yeah. Some nice furniture, yeah.
What are your fees?
I can't talk. I'm a member of NASM, the National Association of Senior Move Managers, and we're not allowed to talk about our fees publicly. That's part of their policy. But part of NASM, we do adhere to a code of ethics, and so I also adhere to that code of ethics as far as, I should bring that up, as far as best practices, as far as just being honest with that, because we deal with a lot of people who are alone, 70 and older, and we just have to be honest with them, and we charge by the hour. And what I usually do is when I do a bid, I go there, I have to see the house. I cannot do a bid over the phone, don't even ask me. There's no chance. I can't tell you how many houses I go into, like,
She's not gonna tell you.
yeah, I go into a house and I'm like, oh, it's 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and I go in there and they're hoarders. It is not a 2 bedroom, 2 bath. There are some houses where you have to walk onto things to get into the houses. That is not uncommon.
Wow.
Yeah. And we just moved a woman who's been in her apartment for 30 years and had to move quickly. They changed their policy, and so they evicted her. And they changed their smoking policy. They evicted her, so I had to move her quickly. And she was very firm about, I'm going to keep all this stuff. And I was very firm that she was not going to keep all her stuff, because I don't think she was a hoarder, but she had accumulated so much. There was just pathways in her apartment, and that is really, really common. Okay, thank you. That is really, really common in the places we see, where it's just, what happens when you get older, you lose the physical ability, you lose the mental ability to make the decisions, to make good decisions, and then you just learn to live with it. So she wasn't a hoarder, she could get into the room, she could use the furniture, but they were just pathways, and she insisted it was all coming. And it's my job, part of my code of ethics, is that she can't. She has to live in the house safely, and we set the house, when we do what we call right sizing, we set it up safely to get rid of trip hazards, to make sure that you can reach everything easily, and that was what I was going to get to next as far as organizing your house so that it's safe for you as you get older. So were there any questions about the downsizing before I do that? I'm kind of going fast because there's lots to cover. Everybody always has lots of questions. Okay, so now you've downsized. Oops, did I lose it? Did I do something?
It'll be back in a second. There we go.
Okay, so,
Is that where you're supposed to be?
no.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
What do you need to be?
You need
You probably
to
want to be...
I think here, 15.
15.
Yeah. Okay. So you sorted, you downsized, you pared down to your 2 bedrooms, you pared down to the basic stuff. And here I want to emphasize that when houses are built, they're built for the conventional family. You sleep in your bedroom, you watch TV in the living room or the family room, you cook in the kitchen, you do your thing in the bathroom, that kind of thing. But honestly, when people get older and their mobility goes down, they sort of come up with their own routine. So I always use this very exaggerated example. If you want to store your jeans in the oven, which I would not recommend if you have memory issues, but if that works for you, and that's how you use your home, this is how it's set up. Most of the time what we do see is people often do a lot of their morning bathroom routines in the kitchen. Their toothpaste is in the kitchen, that is not uncommon. So as you get older and you downsize, feel free to use the home the way you need to use the home. So whatever works for you. If you have multiple stories and the best bathroom for you to use is not your master bathroom, but another bathroom, set your other bathroom up for your master bathroom. And if you need to sleep, set up your bedroom in what was the dining room, because that works for you as far as mobility issues, then feel free to do that. So I just want to say, as we get older and our families have moved down and it's just us in the house, the houses were built for conventionally, but now it's your home and you need to set it up the way you need to set it up. And then when it comes to putting stuff in your house, so you're going to have stuff that you use sort of once a year for Thanksgiving, or you're going to have things that you use a couple times a year for skiing, or once a month for golf, or whenever you go. Think of setting up the rooms in your house in what I call these concentric circles. So everything in easy reach should be the stuff that you use daily. And then the stuff that you use less often should be further and further away. And the reason it's that way is so that you don't have too much clutter in your immediate space. So even though you golf once a month or whatever it is, they should not be in your immediate space, because what's going to do is you're going to have too much space, too much stuff in sort of your walking area. So all the stuff that you use daily should be right here in easy reach for what you need. Then things you use monthly should just be a little further away. So maybe a further closet, maybe down the hall, and then the things you use less than monthly in the year should just set up some nice shelves in the garage and put them further away. And that's just to keep the accumulation down and just keep everything in easy reach. And when we set up a house for our older clients, one of the things I say is keep everything between your knees and your nose, so that when I go into their house and I reset up the kitchen, the first thing I take is their step stool, and the second thing I take is that step ladder. Those are going to go. I don't care what they say to me. Those go. Everything should be in easy reach. So if they have to step on anything, we just want to prevent falls. So if they climb on anything to get anything down, or if they have to bend too low to get things out of the bottom, these are going to, especially if they're starting to get mobility issues, these are going to impact them later if they have a fall. So everything is done to prevent falls. So keep things to prevent clutter from reaccumulating. Keep things close that you use most often, and then you use them less often, further away. And then also keep things where you don't have to climb anything to get to them. That's what I just said. And that's most of it. I mean, I could talk about other things too, but that's most of what I just wanted to emphasize is when you're thinking about what to keep, thank you, when you're thinking about what to keep, don't think that you have to be the museum for the rest of the family. Bring the other family members in, talk openly about that. And again, when their first gut thing is going to say, I don't want anything, so just get past that and say, well, I really thought you would enjoy something like this because I noticed you blah, 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 you liked it, your home's big enough. But listen to them when they do say, I don't have room for that, and then find something else. Again, like dining, maybe they don't have room for the dining room table, maybe they'll have room for 2 of the dining room chairs. Maybe you can divide up the chairs, and then each of your family members get 2 chairs or part of the dishes. So that's really what I wanted to emphasize this. So any more questions?
So you mentioned you often walk in and husband and wife have two different views on it. So what are some of your suggestions to kind of talk through that conversation?
Well,
She's always right.
Yes,
Let's go to rule number 2.
well, I would go back.
She's right.
It's hard until you, it's hard to, like this, again, like until I meet someone and see what's going on, it's hard to say exactly. But definitely, I would start definitely with the, in general, a lot of the people I work with are older, so I always start from a point of safety. And this, I work with a lot of hoarders. There was one hoarder couple, they were both hoarders lifelong, and but she had never thrown away a pair of shoes. And so all her shoes were everywhere. She wouldn't even talk to me, only the man was talking to me. And at one point I said to him, you know, so for hoarders, you know, I don't talk about getting rid of all their stuff. What I try to do more is like, we'll get rid of, would you be okay with me getting a percentage of your stuff? Would you be willing for me to get rid of 25%? Well, just because I wasn't going to touch your collections. And then what we try to do is put them in clear bins. And I said to him, you know, blah, 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 we'll get rid of some, we'll put in clear bins so that you're not tripping on it, because one of you is going to trip, one of you is going to fall, one of you is going to break something, one of you is going to go into rehab, because this is how it works. And then you're not allowed to come home. They'll come and inspect your home. They won't let you come home till all of that's remedied, till everything's up off the floor, and now all the decisions are out of your hands and in someone else's hands. So it's hard for me to know exactly, but I always start with a point of safety, and I would start with that you want to make the home safer, and so there are no trip hazards, and would you be, I don't know if she has a collection, or if you have a collection, or how this works, but whatever the thing is that you feel like she's really clinging onto, or you're really clinging onto, you don't have to get rid of all of it, you could just get rid of part of it. So the woman who was moving out after 30 years had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books that she had no room for. So I said, you know, I went in, I'm like, you have to get rid of 2/3 of these books, you don't have any room. So basically, I said, for every book you keep, you have to put 2 over here in the giveaway. And then the place that she moved to actually put them in their library, which was really helpful. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing, for sure. Don't do the all or nothing. Use safety as a good starting point, but I often use percentages. It looks like, you know, you're moving to a place that's half the size. So we all know right away, you have to get rid of half of this right off the top. So again, one you keep, one you get rid of right away, you're dividing it in half. And then the bottom line is, it gets easier. It just simply, once you start, it just gets easier. Any other questions? Yeah.
Where's the name 62 come from?
Oh, Avenue 62? Well, so that's a whole thing I'm going to be hopefully launching this year. But the idea was just like I would really like, in general, if I could change the world, I would really love for everybody to sort of tackle this stuff before it's an emergency, earlier in their life. And so the age of 62 is sort of the first time when there's 2 sort of financial things that you can do to sort of the first step into retirement. So one is it's the first year you can draw down on your Social Security, and it's the first year you can get a reverse mortgage. So I'm not encouraging either one of those things, but it was sort of an age where people start thinking about, oh, I'm going into retirement now, what should I be doing? So the idea was really sort of the whole idea is there's a pathway towards retirement, sort of like you were saying. It's like plan 20 years in advance. Don't wait for the emergency. Don't wait for the problems. Start thinking about it now, because we're all headed that way. We all know we have too much stuff. And start thinking about it now. So that was working.
Kathy, I just wanted to, maybe you could share briefly, I know you're doing something right now where you do staging, you do, you know, kind of beyond the moving the stuff, like you hired people to do some landscaping so that the home.
Yeah, so on my team, I have someone who's a landscaper, and we also do full and partial staging. So I work with a lot of realtors, work with about a dozen realtors. Full staging is when I go into a house that is empty and I bring in all the furniture. Partial staging is when I use your furniture and I just amend it. So usually in that case, we get down to the basics, and I bring in pillows, artwork, maybe a few other key pieces of furniture, but it's cost saving for the homeowner, so we do full and partial staging. But yeah, so when we're working with someone, if they want to just do small upgrades to the house, my team can do that inside and out, and then we also can do full and partial staging, which helps people who are trying to either moving or downsizing and trying to decide what to keep. We can also help sort of, not just set it up so it's safe, we can also help do some of the decorating around the house as well. Any other questions?
Okay. Yeah, thanks.